but who's really good? Like who's taking that to
Who's
the
better
next
than
level?
good, yeah.
Exactly.
You don't want to go into like multiple things with your omnipresence, but then
Your omnipresence.
you don't want to go into multiple things, but it's like not be successful in those things that
Anything, yeah.
you go
You don't want to
into,
just
you
be
know?
average.
Welcome back to the Biggish Talk. For all you listeners tuning in for the first time, we break down some of the most influential bestsellers of our generation and read them so you don't have to. We're your hosts,
Ira.
Sebastian.
and Harrison.
For today's video, we are going to be finishing off Grant Cardone's The 10X Law.
Rules.
Rule.
Shit.
So we're going to be starting with a topic he touches upon called omnipresence.
To be everywhere at all times.
That was a
Be
fast
everything
response.
This is
and anything. Be everything. Okay. Did I say be everything enough? Be everything.
So what do you mean by be everything? Because there's different ways to look at this.
I think Grant Cardone just talks about, being in every area of the market a little bit, just like dabbling in every sector of the economy, so everyone knows just who you are. Because I feel like that's just the nature of him. Sales is involved in any kind of exchange.
So
right?
To be clear, you mean dabbling by like representing yourself, not by
Yeah.
like getting invested in
Not-
like,
Right.
different
don't-
streams of income.
don't be the jack of all trades.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good to have different streams of income,
course,
right?
of course,
But
of course.
you want to be competent in something first before you
Mhm.
diversify. You know?
Because I feel like you have to invest yourself and be the best at what you do before you can start looking at other things.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah,
Because-
that's why I just wanted to clear that up so
Right,
everyone knows.
Right. Because I feel like people don't take mastery seriously.
Mhm.
There's a difference between being competent. Like, yeah, everyone can do a job. Everyone can push numbers. But who's really good? Like, who's taking that to
Who's
the
better
next
than good,
level?
yeah.
Exactly.
You don't want to go into like multiple things with your omnipresence, but then
Your omnipresence.
you don't want to go into multiple things, but it's like not be successful in those
Anything,
things that
yeah,
you go
you don't want to
into,
just
you
be
know?
average because then you can't work for all those different things. You're gonna work for one making 20 grand a year because you're just average at 50 things.
Yeah, or you just end up stretching yourself too thin.
Exactly.
I mean, you have so many ways that you can go about your life. You just take one step in every direction, you end up in the same place.
Yep. That's why we talk about overcommitting. Cut your losses quick. You get in really fast and realize it's not for you. Just get out.
Yeah.
Don't try and extend yourself.
I think a really key point to omnipresence is like people always make excuses on why they can't do something. So for example, like let's say you own an automobile shop and you want to put up an ad or something, and then they want you to get up there and film an ad, and you're like, I don't do commercials. I'm not a commercial guy. I do cars. Like, nothing's really stopping you from getting up there and giving your best. But, people make these small excuses that really, going back to our last episode, gives them that, like, crippled mindset.
It makes them the victim. They don't take control of their lives. They play the victim part.
Yeah. I remember a time when I used to do that too. Like I would tell myself I'm not really a creative guy. I'm more of a logical guy. But then at one point I was just like, why do I, saying that to myself, it isn't going to fix anything, you know?
It
Why
doesn't
not?
help anything at all.
I don't have to be a master at being creative, but I at least can have some level, so I'm not just like, oh, this creative task, I just can't do it,
Right,
like you,
right.
like these videos, right? I've never been one to put myself out there so much, but it's like, why not? Why can't I do that, right? That's the main question. You gotta ask.
For me, it was with school back in high school. It's like, oh, this teacher is so bad at teaching. The reason
I
my
hate
grades are
those
bad
things.
because he doesn't teach. Oh, he just reads off the lectures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why when people ask me like, oh, did you get a good professor? I'm like, I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn the material regardless, right? It's like,
That's right.
you're going to have some good, some bad, just it averages out. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So now for the big chapter that he talks about is what differentiates successful people from unsuccessful people.
Yeah. What differentiates you from everybody else? Like, what makes you different? Why are you successful? I think it's a question that you have to ask yourself first before you can really read into this chapter.
Yeah.
'Cause-
But what if the
because
answer is
otherwise-
I'm not?
Right. So if you're not successful, then you got to focus on the rest of the book and realize what you need to be doing
Start
to
doing.
be successful.
Yep.
You know, because I feel like a lot of people who are successful, they have a very arrogant kind of mindset. They tackle every problem very much with a lot of pride.
Yes.
And you know, there's just that vibe that you or they can't learn anymore. Because I know I used to be like that. I mean, I used to think that I was the best at, let's say, playing video games, right? I was playing really well for a little while, and I thought that I was the best. And then the reality hit me. There's a whole pool of other people better than me.
Yeah, you're just playing with people that are below you, right? So then
Right.
it seems like,
Right. And the main limiter of that mentality is pride.
yeah.
It's like, how do you overcome pride? Because pride always comes before the fall, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So in this chapter, he lists 32 things that successful people do.
Yeah, 32.
32.
It was a minute to read through everything,
Yeah.
but I guess we'll just go through a couple that we think that are really important.
Yeah, because he like he says in the end too, he's like, you can't focus on all these at the same time.
Course
It's
not.
just like
Yeah.
21 laws, right? You can't focus on all of
Mhm.
them. But you know, find your strengths, find your weaknesses, and just be able to identify that so you can grow in certain areas.
Hmm.
Grow 10 times.
So, anyone like to pick one out?
You know what? I think having a can-do attitude is really important because when I was a kid, actually I thank my cousin for this a lot. Is because he used to tell me, you know, when I was a kid and I was really overweight, okay, and I was trying to lose like even a little bit of weight, and
Yeah.
I was running and you know I kept telling him I can't, and I would stop, you know. But he's saying, you know, you can't tell yourself that you can't, because if you tell yourself that you can't, you won't, you know. But you have to tell yourself that you can, you know. Even if you can't, you have to tell yourself that you can, no matter what, so that you will.
Yeah.
Even if it's slow, if you're you know jogging or crawling, at least you're making some kind of progress. You're not just stuck in place.
Yeah, 'cause that mental barrier is half the
Yeah.
battle.
Definitely. Mental is always half the battle.
Yeah. So one that I kind of liked and that stood out to me was habitually commit.
Mhm.
So this resonates a lot with me because, you know, I developed my habits for a long time and trying to like read daily, right, and
Mhm.
listen to audios instead of music all the time, and just all these habits that a lot of successful people did because I that's what I wanted. I just wanted to be like them, and those, you know, they take a while to develop, and I think it's super important that you do develop these because like there's only two things in life. It's your input and your output. And if your input is all negativity and, you know, people that are making minimum wage, you know, people that are settling for comfortable life, that's what you're going to do. But if your
Mhm.
input is all these people telling you, know, you could be in the top 1%, you know, you just have to do these things. If you get enough of that, sooner or later you're going to start putting that output out that reflects that input, and then it's all uphill from there.
Right.
For me, the one that really sticks out to me is be dedicated to continuous learning.
Yeah.
For me, I feel that's really important because nowadays, like, everyone gets comfortable with where they're at and how there's levels of skill, and it's what keeps them average, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, like with the book that we just talked about, you can never stop learning. You never want to be at the lid. You always want to be raising that lid.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's in leadership, whether it's in creativity, whether it's in productivity, whether it is in anything that you do, you always want to be trying to do your best because you can never be the best at what you
Yeah.
can be. You always have to believe that there's someone out there who's just a little bit better than you are,
Yep.
and
That's
you
how you
have to
stay
keep
on top.
pushing.
Yeah,
That's
like,
how you increase that margin of you being on top and, you know, the second guy, right?
Definitely.
Mhm.
I mean, it's so important because that's what really drives our country. When you think about it, it's just competition.
Yeah.
You know, if there was no mentality of, hey, I'm gonna be better than you, you're gonna be better than me, there would be no reason for us to advance anything, whether it be science, mathematics, or even
Yeah.
the way that we advance automobiles, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why would I need to drive, let's say, 100 miles if my school is just right there?
Yeah.
But I can get a better education in the next town, you know?
The part where it's like it talks about continuous learning is that because no matter how much you learn, you know, there's going to be someone better than you. Like how a lot of the times when I was smaller, my parents would tell me how the stuff that we were learning in middle school is what they were learning in high school.
Mhm.
That's because over time a lot of it has advanced, and it's going to continue advancing. And in order to advance with the times, you need to continue learning, never stop, never be comfortable.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
if there's somebody that's not on top of you, you still have to act like there is, right? Because
Mhm.
there's
Right.
somebody that's ready to knock you down from your spot, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like Starbucks, we talked about earlier. Like I can't think of a runner up that's remotely close. Like I think of Phil's Coffee is probably the second,
Mm-hmm.
but like the
Phil's
amount.
Coffee. I've never heard
Yeah,
of Phil's
see,
Coffee.
like the amount of stores they have
Heard of
compared to
Peeps
Starbucks.
Coffee.
Like, see, I haven't even heard of that.
Oh,
So it's like Starbucks is way up here compared
Yeah.
to the second runners, right?
Definitely.
Uh-huh.
Because they have that mentality, and I think
Mm-hmm.
this all ties to like one very important thing that successful people have, and it's discipline. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, you have to always be growing, to always have these habits, to always be on top. You have to be disciplined in your actions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people they look at the word discipline with a negative connotation. Not words are just words. Okay, when you hear the word consequence, you automatically think something bad.
Yeah.
But consequence is really just something that happens
result,
after the
yeah.
fact. So when you have discipline, you realize, as an individual, discipline is good. And I feel like people are so a little bit blindsided by that one statement that discipline is good, because as a kid, if you're getting discipline, that's bad.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
extremely bad. But if you have discipline, if you know how to utilize discipline, if you're experiencing success in your life, and that's because you have discipline. Let's say you make $8 a day because you didn't buy that sandwich today for lunch, and you decided to buy groceries and you eat it, right?
Yep.
Then if you hold that discipline, okay, you're gonna be making $8 every day for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
right?
But as soon as you let off that gas,
That's right.
then things start to crumble. So the thing about discipline is just
That's
it's like success.
Right.
It's never guaranteed. You have to always be putting that effort.
Yep.
That's why you have to habitually commit, right?
Yep. Mhm.
You have to make it a habit. You have to. Otherwise you're just gonna fail.
Yeah.
You're gonna only get so far, and then you're gonna one day be like, I just can't do it. I have
And
to
then
have that cookie.
You lose that momentum, like we
Yeah.
talked about in the other book.
Like
Right.
for me, it's right now I'm currently trying to develop that discipline as to like really putting myself into reading these books, because I was never really one to read like the books that were assigned to us in high school, and yet here I am with sitting here with you guys talking about a book which I'm choosing to read in my free time,
Yeah.
and with this whole podcast putting in that extra effort of having a book read within 1 to 2 weeks.
Not only that, but being able to talk about it.
Yeah,
publicly.
being able to
right.
publicly talk
Comprehending.
about it on camera.
Just really, put your mind out there. And I feel like that's something that everyone needs to do, and I feel like that's something that our generation is constantly not doing.
Yeah, like you
I would love for people to just to look at if there's a way for me to just upload my brain, and just for people to just to pick apart at it and
Yeah.
just tell me where I should improve. I think that
Yeah.
that would be so helpful.
Because like you said before, that we put these filters, and then
Right.
that really isolates our brain from the exposure that we need. Because I think to make a better society, you really just have to share ideas constantly
Yeah.
to solve problems.
Yeah, and then I feel like in our kind of like lax, nonchalant kind of millennial mentality, it's very much relaxed.
We're Gen Z, actually.
Okay. Sorry, Gen Z.
Millennials is above 18. I'm 18.
Yeah. But you've been 18 for a couple days.
No. It's the cutoff year is 2000, bro.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm 2000.
Yeah, so we're Gen Z.
Oh, interesting. Okay. But now that we've dated ourselves, okay,
We're
Um,
gens.
I feel like just the general atmosphere is getting so lax, right? And people aren't, really pushing to go all the way. They want to focus so far from now.
Yep.
And they're not willing to put in the time that is required in the moment, to really achieve their goals. Like there's this quote, I don't remember who says it, but opportunity is, there. You just have to go get it. It's just in overalls, and it sounds like hard work. That's why people don't want to, commit to that.
Yeah, and I also think in our generation, everyone makes it look so easy, right? Just, putting your life on the internet, you're going to make $1 million,
Oh, yeah.
like all these
Mhm.
big influencers. But it's,
Right.
They put in a lot of work to be consistent, to make sure they're putting out the right kind of advertisements, right captions to get the most traction. All these, there's so many things they're going to do, of course. But people don't realize what happens behind, because it's
Right.
it's just a show.
It also falls on to how we were talking before about how what we're learning today is what our parents would learn in college, or like our middle school is their high school. And so with our generation being very relaxed, I believe it falls on to that the acceptance of the parents with their children's situation. They're like, oh, they're struggling right now, but the stuff that they are learning right now is advanced than what I was learning. So the position they're in right now,
Yeah, they don't really understand as well.
they
right?
they don't understand. So they accept their child being average, and so the child accepts being average.
Yeah, because they don't really know what average is anymore, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
Right.
It's so different. Like my grandparents always complain about this stuff. Like, oh, you guys are always on your phone. You guys are always doing, because there's so much advancement that they can't keep up. And what do you do? How do you know how to raise them? Nobody knows how to raise them because things
Right.
change so fast.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we got stuck, right?
Yeah, yeah, but I also think it falls into. I mean, it really falls onto the individual, right?
course,
What I mean, you always stand on the shoulders of your parents, so you really have to see how far you're willing to further climb up that tree, because everyone's climbing up something.
Yep.
You know, whether it be a tree ladder, however you learned it as a kid, all right. But you stand on the shoulders of your parents, and then you reach as far as you can, and whether or not you decide to jump off those shoulders and continue going up that ladder, it's completely up to you. You know, you could be perfectly content with just sitting on your parents' shoulders, right? Not even standing up,
Yeah.
and just sitting there. Just
And most people
I'm
are.
happy. Yeah,
So see,
definitely.
the thing that's the problem with, like you said, sitting on your parents' shoulders is that it's like how a person would accept the average. Any normal problem could devastate an average lifestyle,
Right,
you know?
right. Because they're so caught up in that mentality, that mentality that they're like, their average lifestyle is perfect.
Yeah. Because
You
they're
know,
comfortable.
Because they genuinely believe in themselves that it is perfect. So when something absurdly bad happens, it just destroys them because they no longer look at the good. Okay, because the good is no longer in their vision. That's what I believe, is because when you've already settled for average, you're no longer looking at what you can be, right? You're only looking at how can I stay this way. That's why you see a lot of situations that devastate a lot of families. Let's say a car accident happens and they're not financially ready to handle that. You know, why weren't they financially ready to handle that? And I think it's, you know, partially their fault for not being ready to be able to commit in that area. Say something happens, right? Because you never know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like you always have to be ready for anything. And not only that, like, you have to embrace change.
Yeah.
You have to. You can't grow without change.
Personally, I believe that the jump you're talking about off your parents' shoulders and to continue that climb is something that you as a person to be successful have to take, because your parents aren't going to be there forever, you know? You can't just be standing on their shoulders forever. You got to keep going upwards and taking those relationships up.
Right, definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. I mean, changes in everything. And like you just mentioned, Sebastian, about, you know, your grandparents, right, not being able to keep up with technology. Well, they're not changing with technology.
Yep.
They've decided to be content with what they know.
Yeah. And they just
They
complain about it and act like the
They
technology is
refuse-
the problem,
exactly,
not them.
Exactly.
So how can we get started with 10x?
Man, that is a great question,
Yep.
because I feel like everyone wants to think that they're already at 10x. You know, no one wants to read this book and go like, man, I'm not doing enough.
I'm not doing
Right. I'm making, you know, I'm working 8 hours at work and work 80 hours at
And then I
work.
gotta go home and I gotta watch football.
I gotta work. I gotta watch 10 times less football. I only get 1/10 of the game.
So some things he talks about and how to get started is setting those insane goals and just finding ways to move towards them daily, right? You don't need to be afraid of them, like I talked about earlier. It could scare a lot of people away.
Yeah.
But just take daily steps towards the goals. Obviously, like we said, for you to hit them would be, you know, like astronomical,
Right.
but just being able to identify what is working towards those goals and actually
Right.
seeing the results. You know, you go through trial and error, you do something, oh, it didn't work towards your goal, then alter it. You know, just that
Definitely.
introspective and growth mindset is really just what's gonna get you there.
But you're going to want to always consider, though, that you're going to want to have a goal that is more valuable than the risk. If the risk is more than the value of your goal, that you're looking at the wrong goal.
Right, definitely. I mean, you really have to think, like you said, about starting, like, setting those baby steps, because any baby step is a victory. Every small victory, you know, you can't win the war without first winning
The
baby
battle.
victories. You have to win these little battles. Yes, thank you. You have to win all these little skirmishes, these little bouts, right? No boxer wins on the final round and goes, okay, unless he gets knocked out. But, you know, boxing is an extremely physically intensive sport. I mean, you train MMA, Sebastian. You know how difficult it is. You know how difficult every consecutive round gets. But you know that the further and further and further that you push, the closer and closer and closer you're getting to that victory that you want.
Yeah.
And I think one like key thing to maybe help you on this journey is surround yourself with people trying to push themselves as well, being on that growth journey in their life. Because if you're around people that just keep telling you can't do it, or it's just a crazy idea, or that settle, it's going to be a lot harder for you to pursue that fully, right? Pursue 10 times the effort.
Right, definitely. I think it also goes into who you have in your life.
Yeah.
Like, who do you look up to? Who do you really surround yourself with?
Yeah.
Because you become, like we said in our previous episodes, you become a reflection. Like, everyone around you, your closest people, they're just mirrors of yourself.
Yes.
Like, look at them as you would look at yourself. Every morning when you're brushing your teeth, like, what do you see? Right? Are you happy with that? Do you want to be in that kind of situation to where you see yourself, maybe not right now, because you might be the leader of that group,
Yeah.
but everyone around you is lower than you.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself going lower? Do you want to see yourself getting higher?
And what Ty Lopez says, he says, you're going to have 33% of people that you strive to be, 33% of people at your level, and 33% of your inner circle is below you, just so you have that diversity,
Right.
So you're not just the leader of everyone and you're not growing as much as you could be, but you also have the whole spectrum.
Right, and I also think it's smart to be able to bounce ideas off of every spectrum.
Exactly.
Because you always want to get the best ideas as you can possibly.
Exactly. If you want an idea of how the consumers are going to buy things, you're not going to ask the leaders, right? You're going to go down and ask consumers.
Right, definitely. I mean, yeah, people, salespeople, they know sales, but ultimately, it's me or you that makes that decision whether or not we're interested.
Yeah,
in
we're
the
going to buy it.
product. Yeah. So, really, it boils down to the goals that you have for yourself. What do you really expect to get out of life?
Yeah.
For us, we can start early, but maybe for some of you older viewers, like, it's definitely not too late. I don't ever want anyone to feel like they can't start.
Yeah.
Because
And I feel like a lot of people feel that way,
Right. I mean, okay, put it this way. Grant Cardone, he was addicted to drugs for, let's say, 10 years of his life.
Yeah.
Right? And he's this multi-millionaire, maybe billionaire now. But he made that active decision, and it starts with that choice that you make for yourself.
Yeah.
It starts within yourself and nowhere else. No one else can be you. No one else can make you successful except for you.
Yeah. And you don't want those regrets later, even if it is like what you think is later, right? You could be 40, 50, like we were talking about. But, you still got life to live. You can still grow. There's no reason why you can't.
But when you make a decision, if you're really faced with two difficult decisions, you can't look back. You can't look back at the other decision, because you can't be making decisions that are going to make other people happy. You really got to dig deep and find out what you deem is success, what you really consider success to be, and really just strive for that goal.
Yeah.
And you can't retreat, because you're going to have those insecurities. You're going to have that fear of failure, but you can't let that get to you. You got to just keep pushing and go through, because failure, sometimes it'll happen, but that's okay. You just got to take that experience of failure, and you got to learn from it. See, okay, this is what happened. How can I make myself better from this? How can I use this moving forward?
Yeah. Yep. Success is very hard to dissect,
Right,
but
very, very, very difficult. But
we can do our best.
Right, we can do our best, but we really don't spend a lot of time talking about how someone can maintain that, success. And I feel like it's an extremely hard thing to do, but with discipline and risk management, like we were talking about, it's very much attainable. It's so very much attainable. Anyone can do it, as long as you realize that you don't live for the now. You want to live your life. How would you? Okay, maybe you don't want to live your life how you would be living 10 years later, but you definitely want to be living your life how you would set up yourself for be living 10 years later.
All right, great place to end it, boys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for tuning in this episode. I hope you guys learned something new. If you guys had anything to share, please comment in the comment section down below. If you liked what you saw, please leave a like and subscribe if you really enjoy our content and want to just encourage us to put out more.
Yep. And if you really enjoy it, we also have some other ones. Like in our previous videos, we talked about the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Those are some good videos to go take a look at.
If you're trying to be a leader, go on it. But as for now, let's go out and get this bread.